Great.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Seattle Angel Conference workshop series that we do. We do this as a beginning part of um, getting our program for the Angel Conference together. We also run a little bit of work on lean startup. And today, those two ideas are coming together with Thorsten, who's going to talk a little bit about automating customer discovery. Before we dive into that a little bit, I want to talk a little bit about what I think about with customer discovery. So when we think lean startup, we talk about four steps: the discovery, validation, creation, and scale. And so what we're looking at the very first step is customer discovery, which I think of as customer problem fit. Where is there a pile of customers who are willing to engage with spending money to solve a particular problem? So if I can find a cluster of people that are willing to spend money to solve a problem, then I probably can find a business in there. And a lot of times when people think about customer discovery, they don't qualify the people they're talking to as customers. They think that random people are customers, or they think that people that they think that have the problem are customers, when in fact, customers are people who are willing to pay you. So if they're not willing to pay you, then you
Yeah.
you might get a lot of feedback from them, but it would not be useful, actionable feedback because that action would not cause that person to spend money with you. And on the other hand, they tend to talk about their product and the features of their product. So what they're really doing is validating the features of their product with random people, which is often worse than doing nothing because you get lots of feedback that seems positive, but which does not represent customers that are early adopters paying you. And so we would like to urge people to do early customer discovery where they validate people as customers, i.e., get them to pay you for a thing that validates that they're willing to spend money to solve a particular problem so that we gather 100 people that are early adopters that are willing to spend money to solve a particular problem. And when we ran the Milval Chow thing with Adam, um, and we did the um, build, measure, learn loop challenge, we offered money to people if they would just run experiments. And for the most part, we got 98, 99% of the people who wouldn't actually run the experiment. And so having some kind of automation as a mechanism to lower the friction with people creating experiments, which validate, will this group of people as active early adopter customers engage in a discussion around this problem, whatever it is. So I can build um, my competitive matrix on one side and then identify clearly my unique value proposition before I then go on and talk to them about my solution and ask that group of people who will clearly identified themselves as customers whether that solution is useful, which is step two in the equation. And so Thorsten has been working a long time on this notion of automation and automation tools. And we talked about how we might build some automation to engage in that question of discovering early adopters. Now, I need to define an early adopter. So I think it was Sean Ellis who said an early adopter is someone who has a problem, knows they have a problem, has spent money to solve the problem, is still unhappy with whatever the solutions are, and is still willing to spend money to solve the problem. So we're looking
Looking
for
for
that very
alternatives.
narrow 2% of the population that are early adopters who are ready to engage in solving this problem urgently. What did you say, Thorsten?
And are looking actually for an alternative solution in the market.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
they're unhappy with all of the solutions currently
Yeah.
available in the market, and they're still willing to spend money to find a new solution.
Yeah.
And so, given that context, then, Thorsten, let me put you on spotlight. Why don't you introduce yourself, and then why don't you dive into the talk?
Yeah. Let me share my screen real quick. So, I mean, I mean, funny story is in 2019, when I came to Seattle, my first presentation was actually about customer discovery, right? So that was my first public appearance in Seattle. And I looked it up today and I could have shown just that one, just to show how it has changed. And I remember we talked about Airtable actually as a tool at that time, how to
Yep.
use Airtable and how to automate Airtable. Since then, a lot of stuff actually happened, right? As you all can evidence here. So I'm running actually a company called InnovareAI. So the backstory is the background is consulting. It was actually innovation consulting, turned into AI consulting. It turned into a platform idea, which turned into a B2B automation tool. And now we built our first AI platform. So um, we've done this for almost 6 years with clients in the market, so we understand actually the pain point. And I have my co-founder here, Chona. She is actually the one who lives in that machine. What I did is when I started, I needed to understand actually the process, how actually outreach works, and what is the manual task, what are the manual tasks involved. So I hired a team and I built a business around that team with the intention of building actually at some point a tool because I saw actually AI coming already, and then automate the process of humans and then actually putting an AI on top of this. So that's what we built. Um, so we dabbled around with automation tools and we know all the issues with automation. They've been, I mean, a time and a lifesaver for many people. But since ChatGPT actually arrived, I mean, everything has changed in the market. And this is where we had to disrupt our own business again and reinvent what we will be doing in the future. So that's where we are today. Um, yeah. At the moment, I mean, my company is based out of San Francisco, but I'm actually in Germany at the moment. So I'm traveling usually quite a bit. For many reasons, I'm here. But the US market is still our focus market. We're getting the most customers actually, I mean, from the US and from Canada, finally. Um, Let's dive right in. I guess John mentioned most of this already. So 40% of startups fail because there's no market need. And John, you might actually disagree with some of the numbers here. But I mean, from a general point of view, it's all about figure out if you actually have, if you can solve a problem that a customer has in the market and if that customer is willing to spend money for this. Um, yeah. So when we look at AI, and I guess we all have been dabbling and playing around with AI, what are the advantages for us from a customer discovery point of view? So when I look back to 2019, it was actually me getting up on Sales Navigator and trying to figure out my target audience, I mean, creating lists and actually putting all these leads into a tool and start sending out messages manually. Then we actually experienced the time again of automation. This made it all little bit easier. But today, actually, it has become so easy using ChatGPT or Claude and just talking to Claude in order to get the data, in order to get your ICPs out of a tool like this, in order to create a messaging strategy around it, and setting all of this up in an automation or an AI automation tool. Um, we see this. You build your personas or your ICP in the market, right? You define these, then you craft a messaging template based on your ICP. You automate the outreach, and then you start optimizing and scaling this. So when it comes to customer discovery, scaling means you will send out maybe 100, maybe 200 messages. You will test actually different sub niches because you have no idea yet which of the sub markets actually has the problem that you're trying to solve. You can test different messaging strategies, different pitches. So all of this can be done using actually automation much easier than it used to be done in the past. Um, So when we look at the stack, what we need in order to run an effective AI-driven customer discovery, we need to understand personas or ICPs or our potential buyers. And of course, the tools we are using are ChatGPT, Claude, or Gemini, and we can feed them with a lot of data and getting all the information out we need. And from a tool point of view, these tools gotten really smart, right? So I use them actually daily just in order to do market research, just in order to get a handle on what's happening in the market, doing competitive research, which is a foundation for the business that we run. Um, the second part is, again, it's automation, and this is tricky. So we have a lot of automation tools in the market that offer B2B automations, and we have some of them that offer B2C automations. I mean, the majority is still B2B, but there is this huge opportunity in the market that is actually neglected, which is actually about the B2C market. The B2C market, I mean, like this Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and TikTok, is much harder to crack because each market, each B2C market is completely different compared to a B2B market. And B2B, I have a very similar process that I can replicate. In B2C, that is sometimes extremely difficult. Nevertheless, those markets actually I need to learn. I need to from the campaigns I'm running because in the end I will be running campaigns in order to get to these early adopters. And I need to continuously optimize my campaigns. I need to understand what are the conversion points. Do I need to have to refine my messaging? Is my call to action right? Is it my USP? Is it whatever? I can optimize each piece of this in order to get actually my conversion number up. If you put this into practice, it's today, actually until last year, it's all about tools. Again, the ChatGPTs and the Claudes of this world are actually in everybody's hands. So these make it actually very easy to build your personas, do the market research, messaging frameworks, and so on. The more difficult part is actually the LinkedIn Sales Navigator and the automation tools, because there are a lot of risks involved and terms and conditions on LinkedIn side that you're actually not allowed to run any automation, even if you would love to. You're violating actually their terms and conditions. Nobody cares in the market because, I mean, it is pretty safe to automate, and the risk of actually getting caught is very low. Then, of course, maybe one word about LinkedIn automation. If anybody uses LinkedIn automation, always use a cloud-based tool. Never use a Chrome extension because the LinkedIn's AI detects all Chrome extensions and they catch you and they actually restrict your account immediately. Then, of course, you have social media. Social media is more the general approach here, where you target a much broader audience. So you're going after Facebook, you're going after Instagram and the other platforms. So we have like Buffer, we have a Hootsuite, Tablio, which is a LinkedIn tool, and you can actually generate content and distribute the content into these social platforms. If you, are in a B2B business, LinkedIn is, of course, your first choice on top of X and Medium. But especially LinkedIn, just updated their entire algorithm, right? So, they changed the entire game when it comes to outreach and when it comes to targeting the right audience on LinkedIn. So what they expect today in 2026 that you actually get content into the platform that is actually relevant for your ICP. So they match actually your ICP against your the content that you share and the product that you offer. So the AI is pretty smart, and after 3 months, the AI decides if they would actually promote your content instead of LinkedIn, because at some point the content that you share needs to get viral in the best case. The biggest challenge on LinkedIn is that we still talk to all the people that we know. We're not reaching out to anyone else. And that's the biggest challenge when it comes to content on LinkedIn. But again, there are tools in the market that can help you getting out and getting actual content in the market, which helps you when you actually conduct these customer discovery interviews. Because what a decision maker will do he will look you up and he wants to understand, are you actually an expert in your market, with your product, with the problem that you're trying to solve? For that reason, content is extremely important on LinkedIn. Um, and on top of this, of course, we have email automation tools like Instantly or Limlist, Apollo, or Smart Lead. There's a bunch of these. And they actually automate all of these automation sequences, make it actually quite easy for you to get your messages out. The reality check here is, and this is the other side, right? Is I mean, all of these tools sound nice. Still, it's still stitching tools, different tools together, right? In order to get actually a process going. And again, it's copy and pasting, right? Whoever spends time on ChatGPT sees, all right, I have to prompt it. I have to prompt it right. I have to get the messaging sequence right. I have to fine tune it. I have to put my ICP in, and actually I need maybe 5 different messages or messaging sequences in order to test. So this is manual work. You still need to put brain into this, and then you need to copy and paste all of this. You need an automation tool, right? So ChatGPT does not really automate. It ties into your Gmail account. It does tie into your Microsoft account, and so does Claude, but they do not automate. It's a one-by-one email. And so for that reason, I mean, it may be helpful if you are targeting like 10 people, maybe 20 people, but if you're targeting 100 people, these tools are actually not useful yet. And I'm sure they will actually, innovate this and will probably offer integrations and services along the way that will solve that issue. Um, a biggest challenge, and this is what we learned in automation, like 3 years back, is reply management. Um, because when we send messages out, we need to reply to people. And this is the hardest point because we're all very busy. We're all busy. We have a day-to-day job and and have meetings and have stuff to do. And all of a sudden a lead says, "Oh, yes, I'm interested," right? The reality is it takes 48 hours until we reply to anyone in our inbox because what we need to do now, we have to research. We have to actually go back to ChatGPT. We have to research this person. We have to check his LinkedIn account in order to send him a reply that actually fits because we want him to be our interview partner, right? For our customer discovery interview. So the message needs to be right. So this is a manual process that takes a lot of time. And again, it's the same in B2B marketing or sales. Salespeople take about 3 days to reply to actually a sales email, right? So that is something that hasn't been resolved yet. And of course, finally, it's the quality control, right? So we need actually to check if the content that we actually generate is right, that the tonality is right. There's a ton of stuff where we actually need to be human, right? Because automation is not helpful if it sounds like automation, because nobody will respond, right? People will just hate you. And I'm speaking of experience, right? We're doing a lot of these things. Um, Again, there is the promise of AI and automation, probably more of automation. On the other side, there's still a lot of manual tasks to be done. Um, but what happened last year with Claude actually, right? At some point, Claude launched their agentic platform, and everybody was jumping on this. And we have different LLMs right now that are actually able to take over a lot of these manual tasks. So what I did here is there's a couple of companies in the market that you actually could use in order to really run a autonomous campaign for your customer discovery. By autonomous, I mean you basically talk to a chatbot, and the chatbot will scrape the data. He will craft the messaging. He will research, actually, does all the research. He will actually discuss the research with you. He will set up your campaigns. He will run the campaigns. He will optimize the campaigns, gives you the results. The only thing he will not do, get on the phone, right? So, I mean, you guys still need to get on the phone. This is something that I learned over time. You can automate the hell out of this. A lot of our startups that we work for, some of them come to us and say, oh, we can automate now all the phone conversations. Well, actually, you cannot, right? Because people still buy from people. People don't want to talk to machines. That's very important. And I mean, the promise of automation, of course, is everything's being taken care of. But to be honest, there is still a lot of room for these one-on-one conversations between a salesperson or startup founder and somebody who actually has a problem that he wants to solve. Nevertheless, there's a few tools in the market. They are quite interesting. I mean, the biggest one are 11x and Artesian. They are actually virtual SDRs and BDRs, and you can actually deploy these in the market. And they take care of everything. I mean, they do your segmentation. They actually learn about the ICPs, the personas that respond. They measure the success of the messaging. And they optimize everything almost perfectly to actually free up your time in order to conduct, well, it's actually a sales tool, but you could use that for custom discovery. Uh, from a cost point of view, I mean, it's anywhere between 1K and 5K per month. This is how much they charge at the moment, right? So, but again, I mean, if you have a lot of outreach going, if you have a lot of interviews to conduct, then these tools will save you a lot of time. They still require training, but again, I would use one of these tools, right? And then, of course, there is the tool that we built, which is their competition. And just based on my experience, what we built is with Shona's know-how. I mean, her 10-year experience, how do we actually build a product that customers would pay for and buy, right? So, um, and there's a couple of features we built in that are useful. I don't want to talk about features here, but again, what we can do is we can automate a custom discovery process end to end, except the interview. Right? We can't do this. And what I'm going to do here is I want to actually demo this, if you permit, John. And Lingen, can we use your startup actually as a scapegoat here and actually run an experiment?
Sure.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. This is perfect. All right, here we go. All right. So this is, we call him Sam, right? The name derives from sales and marketing. That was the idea, right? He turned into something else, right? So he understands 44 markets, B2B markets. He has a deep know-how of a buying process in each of the markets. He's my best buddy now. I mean, he's really sometimes creepy because he totally understands what I want, right? So, what is your company URL? Do you have a website?
No, I don't have one yet. I'm in a very early stage, Thorsten.
All right, now let's talk about your startup a little bit, right? Give me some information here because the way I set this up, he's a startup mentor right now. He is in a startup mentor role. And you mentioned a few points about the interviews. I mean, getting prepared for the interviews. That was funny, right? Because this is what we discussed today. This is what he does, right? So we're testing a medtech startup, right? And we're talking about regulations in the market, right? And he gave me, I mean, some pretty solid advice. So let's talk about your startup. What is it, what you do? What does your startup do?
So I am building a drone-based firefighting solution for wildfires.
Oh, wait, wait, wait. Oh, that's actually interesting. Drone-based firefighting solution. All right. Okay. Wait, let me wake him up. Yes, here we go. Okay. Okay. Running experiments. A drone-based firefighting solution startup, correct?
Yes.
All right.
And I also had a relative question here because when we started, you talked about uh, looking at early adopters using customer discovery with people who are willing to pay. But there are times, and I know this is true for in my case as well, that you have users and then you have people who buy, and they're two
Correct.
different things. So
Right.
can you also touch on that as you talk about doing customer discovery?
Yeah,
Yes.
so customer discovery is discovering about the people that will pay you and validating that. And inside that customer discovery is the expectation of value creation for the user. And you can't discover what value that the customer is expecting to pay for by talking to the user. Now, you have to then talk to the user and make sure that the value that the user is getting aligns in some way with the value that the customer is getting, right? So you have a two-sided market here, essentially. But
Hmm.
yes.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Thanks.
All
So
right. Jim?
just as an interesting piece of data, Transatlantic Angel Conference did a sidecar into Fireswarm Solutions, which creates software for drones fighting fires. And
Yes.
they're out of British Columbia.
British
So
Columbia, yes, I'm aware of them. Yes, thanks.
who's your assumed audience, your target buyer?
So for me, I'm looking at mostly the area that I'm looking at is communities that are by the wildland urban interface. So there are insurance companies who pay to have coverage, and then communities or homeowners associations that are looking at having their own solutions.
HOAs and communities. Okay. Let's see. All right. Let's talk about geography. Are you based out of Seattle?
Yeah,
Okay, let's talk. Oh, it's Washington State, right? Let's talk
yeah.
Washington
I mean,
State.
you can do like basically the West Coast.
Okay, it's the West Coast. California will love this, right?
Yeah.
Coast. So now let's ask him a few questions. He's your startup mentor. What is it what you want to know? How do you actually get to this into? Is it your target audience? Do you actually want to understand more about the questions, about the pain points? What are your assumptions that you have?
So I think one of the things I want to know is, you know, how do insurance companies think about fire risk and mitigation of that risk? Because that's where the value comes to them.
Well, so are you assuming that the um, insurance companies are paying for the drones? Are you assuming that the insurance companies will reduce rates for insurance for homeowner
Yeah. So
associations?
basically,
What's
if
the
and
magic?
they would reduce the rates or they would cover because in like for example in California, some insurance companies have pulled out because the risk is too high.
It's the premiums, right? The
Yeah.
premium. All right. Again, he's been trained to be a startup mentor and asking the right questions. All right, good instinct here, but here's the reality. Insurers don't reduce premiums for prevention tech unless it directly lowers their claims loss ratio. That's good.
Hmm.
And that requires proof over multiple seasons, right? They think in terms of risk scoring, not goodwill. Good point, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, So the stronger angle is selling to insurers as a data and underwriting intelligence play. Your drones generate real-time fire perimeter and risk data that helps them decide who to insure, at what rate, and when to pull coverage. Very smart, I would say. It's a product they'll pay for directly, not just reward and indirectly through premium discounts. Want me to build the messaging angle for the outreach? That's his goal. So, do you have more question on this? I mean, do you want a deep, I mean, dig deeper into this because you mentioned this is one of your core audiences that you actually have in
Yeah,
mind.
I clearly don't want to do my full discovery in this
Yeah.
session. But as I think about it, I think what would be interesting, and perhaps to the others who are going to watch this later, is uh, this seems to be aligning with how uh, I've been getting responses. But would this now propose how I actually have an actual discussion, like kind of preparing me to have a discussion with an insurance company or a underwriter? Would
Well,
Yes.
this?
let's back up a step first. Um, when you think about, I have a pile of drones, there is a fire, the fire gets put out by the drones, or there's some kind of value created by the drones, then
Mhm.
the person that's paying might be many different people. And so you might have many different submarkets. And one of those is the homeowner might pay for it. One of them is the HOA might pay for it. One of them is the local water district, port, city, government entity might pay for it. One of them is that the homeowners might be attracted to it because the insurance companies will reduce their rates.
Mhm.
And the motivation that you're trying to solve is the overall, spend some capital now in order to reduce rates later, or even to enable insurance because you couldn't get insurance because you're in a high risk fire zone. So the insurance company doesn't want you to actually be there, right? And so
Yes.
it might be good at this point then to articulate with the AI what are the possible payers for a solution and to do the exploration of the different submarkets and then step into each of the submarkets iteratively to ask the question, well, how do I find these people? What do I say to these people? And so forth. How does that feel, Thorsten?
That feels wonderful, actually.
Yeah, no, so that's yeah, we asked about the insurance companies. We didn't ask about the homeowners or the communities, which uh, which are willing to pay. And then
So when we usually talk about customer discovery, we talk about this multitude, and typically it's on the order of 13 to 15 different submarkets that are associated with any particular solution. We
mhm,
we are looking for three things. Of those 15 possible ones, there's a number that won't pay at all ever because they've got other issues that are blocking. Um, there's the ones that will pay quickly, there's the ones that will pay a lot, and there's the ones that are a lot of people will pay. So big, right? A big market.
right,
So as a startup, what we care about is finding an early beachhead market where it is
Quickly.
a fast paying market, where the sales cycle is short and the structure of the sale is such that I'm not waiting 90 days after my bill to get paid, right?
yes,
And so something that might support a subscription model, for example, might be a better thing than a annual contract with the city, even though the annual contract with the city would be a big number. And so we might start diving into the question of these what are the possible submarkets? Which ones are more likely to have a short sales cycle? Which one of these are likely to have some large number of people that would pay, et cetera?
This
and
is
also,
so.
go ahead, Thorsten.
Okay, go ahead. I'll jump in after you.
No, so I was going to say, I think John touched on the utilities more than water. I think one of the other segment or customer segment is electric utilities because they have they are walking a fine line, right? Because sometimes they are the cause, and then sometimes they basically have to also provide the service. So they are another interesting segment of customers that I want to learn more about. So I would add insurance companies, HOS communities, and then electric utilities into that mix as
So
well.
we have this here, the utilities already.
Oh,
So
okay. Sorry, I missed that
he
one.
says they are your fastest and most certain ones. They have active wildfire mitigation budgets by CPUC regulation. They've already been fined billions and they buy fast to stay compliant. That's a pain point, right? That's a pain point.
Mm-hmm.
Right. HOAs and communities are the weakest on all three criteria. Small budgets, slow decisions, and no urgency mandate, right? So the AI would prioritize them and lead with utilities as your beachhead. Then layer into insurers once you have a data story and use government as your long-term anchor contract. Does this sound reasonable?
Yeah, no, so far it is. It's doing a pretty good job.
Yeah.
I think so. I'm also curious to then see, when we think about wildfires, you think about the direct impact and people who are looking to solve that pain. But there is another big impact, which is from the smoke, the air quality, and the secondary impact to people's health. And some people may want to, and this is one of the discoveries that I'm trying to learn more, can we find out from this tool to help me decide if that's an angle that I should do a discovery? And would it save me time by asking a question to say, yeah, I know that's a worthwhile angle to look at?
Repeat the question. Let me type it
So,
in.
so to think about, is there a customer segment that would be considering the impact of smoke from wildfires as a pain point that they would be willing to spend to avoid that?
Smoke.
Yes.
Like hospitals
Or medical insurance companies.
or senior citizen homes.
Mhm.
So somewhere after identifying the submarket, which we're working on, I'm assuming we will go on to the question of how do I automate the process of creating leads to find them and then creating the interview process to qualify them and then the process of gathering the data that makes me actionably decide which market to dive into.
Yes. Yeah, that is what would be very helpful to see.
So you have actually now like 5 options here, right? So we just talked about 5 different options. Let's take this one as an example, right? And let's hone down on the data here, right? So that's ICP here, ICP here. And let's actually build your audience, your target audience. So is your drone solution a monitoring service, a deployed hardware sale, or a data as a service feed? What is it?
It is a monitoring. It's both a monitoring and suppression. One of the differentiation is that the drones, kind of like what John put in there as an example, these drones will be able to do initial suppression. So it's a service that will monitor and then put out small fires.
Mhm. Okay, powerful. Combo two more questions. Janelle, the ICP, what's your approximate contract size or monthly fee per site?
Well,
So
it's a bit early to know that yet.
yeah,
We would ask that in step 3 of our early customer discovery. What
Yeah.
we're trying to do right now is to do discovery of a collection of people who are willing to pay any amount of money to solve the problem.
Are you licensed in any of the states? Do you need to be licensed at all?
no.
Okay. No licensing required. Licensing required. So you can move fast nationally. Now the contract size, okay. unknown at this point. All right, let's build the ICP. Beachhead ICP, Regional Operations Directors or VP of Facilities at senior living chains with 10 plus locations in wildfire-prone states. Does that sound right?
Directionally, yes. Yes.
It's just directionally, I guess, for the sake of this demo here, right? I mean, we can't actually dig too deep. And the
Yeah.
secondary ICP would be a winery estate manager in Napa, Sonoma, where smoke is a 100K crop risk per season. I mean, that's a good one, actually, right?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
could
That,
see this, yeah. All right, let's see what we find. All right, let's see what we find in terms of market potential. People to talk to. So what he does, he goes now into LinkedIn and checks actually the available data on LinkedIn. Search isn't live in this environment right now, but I can still give you strong directional intel from what I know. The top senior living chains by location counts are Brookdale Senior Living, Sunrise Senior Living, 5-star, blah, 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 all with a centralized procurement and facilities team. Would that be, I mean, would that be something that you say, all right, this sounds interesting, or is this actually too far off from your
No, this so far from thinking about what I'm trying to do, and kind of, if I were to do this, this detailed planning for something else. In this case, I've thought through, so I'm kind of mapping some of the actions the tool's doing. This is so far right, like it's giving me, okay, these are the people that I should go connect with. I think the next step I'm curious to see is it going to give me uh, a good set of questions to have that discussion?
Okay. Yeah, we come to the question. We come to the questions, right? Let him do the ICP, right? Let him do the ICP. And let's get down to the questions then. All right. So he's polling, blah, 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 blah. 4 highest risk wildfire risk states. And he will show us the data when it's actually ready and available. All right, now let's talk about the interview, the customer discovery interview. Customer discovery interview questions. What's your biggest unknown right now?
I mean, I have to calibrate how, the things that you talked about earlier, what do they do today? And, how painful is this? I'm validating, right? Like right now, I haven't validated the hypothesis I have. I'm going with, oh yeah, this is good. The air quality is like, if you take a look at the senior home, I'm looking at, yeah, this is something that they would care about, but I haven't validated that.
Okay.
And I think there is another part that I would want to learn as I think about customer discovery is also the value of getting. I'm thinking about this automation to allow me to scale and to be able to do stuff, cheaply, to do the customer discovery at a lower cost, not necessarily lower quality. But so the one of the other aspects I see is, many times when you talk to customers or potential customers, you learn about related pain. something that you didn't think about but used, and that kind of surfaces because you ask these open-ended questions of the people you're talking to.
Mhm.
And so when now that the tool has identified potential customers, I'm also hoping that you know, it's not just going to kind of build a set of questions based on what I have said, but kind of takes
No.
and starts to look at broadly to say, oh, this is kind of what you should be asking to understand this customer segment and to understand their pain better. So, this might be an opportunity where a startup might pivot or expand because they learn something different.
Mhm. Yeah, you're right. What we do here is we build a knowledge base tool, right? So everything what the AI actually pulls and everything what you put in is being saved in the knowledge base for your company. Um, so here type 10 question discovery script for medic, right? The pain and the problem, blah blah blah, the implications, all of this decision making and buying decisions, competition and timeline. And you can actually change these, right? You say, all right, I like these. I mean, this is more interesting for me. You can actually, and he learns over time. The system
Mhm.
is built in a way that it actually learns from you, from each and every interaction. Um, when we started, it had no idea about your product, about your company, right, about anything. What it does actually, it listens to you, it reads actually what we write, and it pulls information in the back end at the same time from public resources and from LinkedIn. Because I mean, otherwise, it wouldn't be able to actually talk about your solution in a way that it's like an expert, right? It wouldn't be able to do this. So it
So
needs to.
here's the place that I get distracted, which is a lot of times people will use all this information as though it were facts and then go run off and start their business.
Mhm.
And that's exactly the wrong answer.
Correct.
And so, how do we take this information and turn it into actionable customer discovery, find leads, qualify leads, schedule calls with leads, set aside calendar events to do that, create the script to talk to the leads to discover the things I need to know to build the competitive matrix so that I can then zero in on the subsegment of people that are likely to be able to generate a cash flow positive experiment.
Good question, right? So the action here, the actions are it takes the information and it turns it into a campaign. This is the first step, what it does. It listens, I mean, to the conversation. Um, it works with you on the assumptions and it tries to get your assumptions right. Um, and it creates the interview questions. It helps you actually. It helps you creating these interview questions. But the goal of this of Sam is um, to actually build a campaign for you to find your early adopters in the market. This is actually what it excels at, right? So taking this, doing this LinkedIn, whatever search, um, getting you the data to approve, turning this into a mini automated campaign and run this campaign. This is what it does. It's an action item because the tool itself, be it in B2B sales or be it for a startup, is very action oriented. And that means you have to feed it information. Again, it pulls some information from the internet whenever you tell, all right, this is actually what I want to do, right? It is not sitting there and telling you this is now the new market and these are, I mean, the assumptions that are actually right. No, this is not how this works. You have to tell actually the agent what to do, and he will guide you. He is your guide, but he will not surface any information from public resources and tell you, all right, your market looks like this or this or this. The tool will actually always say, let's test it, right? Because we built a testing module into the tool that we always test assumptions, right? Because um, when we started this, right, we actually briefed the tool, and he was like running all the way. He said, "All right, I'm building this, right?" And it's wrong, right? The tool is right now in a position it can challenge us. It can challenge our thoughts about our own assumptions, right? Because it pulls the information. It has some data from other companies, um, and uh, and can challenge our assumptions about this is actually wrong. What you're trying to do, you have to do it this way.
So, Thorsten, one question. As a startup, so any company, anybody who wants to do customer discovery, uh, why do they have to use SAM? Why can't
They
they just?
don't. They don't. They don't. No, no, no. They don't.
Well,
Okay.
what's the advantage that they get from SAM as
It's the
opposed to not using it?
automation. See, you make your process much faster. I mean, you can scale if you like the word. I mean, you can actually, I mean, build, I mean, that custom discovery sequence in like a day, less than a day. And you have actually, after you had this interview with Sam, a lot of information. You have potentially a messaging sequence. You have a interview guide already. You have all the pain points that you need to basically build into the interview guide. They provide you actually with information and how to structure the information. So as I mentioned before, you can do all of this manually. You can actually say, all right, ChatGPT, this is what I want to do. ChatGPT will give you exactly the same guidance, like Sam here. Exactly the same. So Sam, just for public information, is built on Claude SDK, right? We're running actually a software development kit on Claude, and this is entirely built on Claude. But again, you can use the public Claude for this. The difference is you actually have this conversation with Claude, and then you take the information. Now you go to LinkedIn, and now it's all right, this is the data that I was supposed to pull. And this is the difference because he can actually, in your conversations, validate the data already. He can actually say, all right, this is the potential that we have, right? He can actually pull in public information about buying signals and actually help you formulating a decision much faster than if you were using just ChatGPT. Because the process in the past was ChatGPT, and then you do Sales Navigator search or Apollo search, and then you set up your automation tool, and then you actually run your campaign. So these are all manual steps, and it takes a few days. I mean, out of just my own experience, it takes a few days to get all of this going. Here, I mean, just in the last 2 days, we had a client, we set up a client in less than 10 minutes. If you have an
So
ICP, and this is speed, it's about speed. It's about speed and convenience.
so let's take the homeowner association submarket for Lingen, and let's ask the question how he would create a campaign that would find him 100 people to interview around the interest of this thing, and how can he then find them, qualify them, create the offer to have a meeting. Now, I personally, in the process, let me fix something. Let me come on the screen here. So I would personally build a monetized content strategy, Lingen. So
Yeah.
the way that I would think about this is I would like to prove that somebody is a customer before I interview them in person. And so
Mhm.
I would run a series of content, including LinkedIn posts and a Zoom meeting around this question of um, residences and fires and commercial enterprises and fires and health and fires, and just talk about the problem, right? What's the
Mhm.
problem? You live in California, the utilities are causing, fires by the fact that everything's dry, blah, 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 right? And free things. But inside that, then and if you want to use this solution, here's how you use this solution effectively, or here's how you talk to your insurance company effectively. And those are like $10 Zoom workshops to engage with them, right? How should my HOA tell my members of my HOA about how to be effective in terms of what to do in case of a fire? You know,
Right.
buy this white paper that you can distribute to your people. It's a small thing that just validates I'm willing to spend money to address the problem, right? Now
Mhm.
I have collected a bunch of people that are interested. I now have a bunch of people that have paid me that are a subset of the ones that are interested, and now I have a conversion rate. And my goal is to find a room where that conversion rate attracts a large number of customers, customers being people that paid me. And since I really want the early adopters, I sort of want to have a second step in that payment thing where I am paying more money for something that goes in more detail that creates more intimate value for the people. So I have free, small value, high value, where
Right.
I then, those are the people I really want to interview, right? And then I go interview those people and then validate that they really are customers for deploying a solution that's like the one that I have in my mind. And I'm not going
Mhm.
to tell them about the drones. I'm going to talk to them about the question of how important it is to have early suppression, or how important it is to avoid the exposure to smoke, or the benefits that I get from the drones, not the fact that I have drones, right? Because
Right. It's similar to like,
I'm going to come back in stage two after I've
right.
identified a bunch of people that are early adopters that really are leaning in on solving the problem. I will come back to them with then perhaps a handful of solutions, or I say, here's three ways that we could solve that problem and substantially reduce this risk or highly increase this benefit. Which of these three would you prefer, right? And I make them an offer, and now I'm measuring and qualifying the problem solution fit, which is step two, right?
Right.
But I don't want to interview random people about the features that I have not qualified as um, customers, nor do I want to talk to people who are in different subsegments without clarity on the subsegment, because I would
Mhm.
like to ask the subsegment questions that converge into a solution that is meaningful, right? So, given that context, Thorsten, how do you get that to happen in the short term for Lingen with this tool?
Um, I put my tool in your hands, Linga, right? So for the next 4 weeks, and you actually use that tool.
Yeah, I want you to be more directive.
Yeah,
I
I know what you mean. I mean,
I
what
want to
needs to happen? I
find.
mean, if I listen to you, the easy part is I will prompt it. I will just prompt it because I
Okay.
have to update the back end prompt to follow these directions. That's what I need to do. So this takes a day, right? And you will have then an updated startup mentor on your site
So then,
following these.
Lingen, for you, if you're
Mhm.
taking, narrow down the submarkets down to HOAs,
Mhm.
and my goal is to interview 100 of them, and then to, drive that into things. What steps would you like to ask about that?
I think the first thing is I want to know the community. So if I want 100, I need to have at least, you know, more than 100 communities that are likely to experience this pain. Because if I, working backwards from the, will they pay? Well, they'll only pay if they're in a position where there's fire. And if I go talk to somebody who's, a HOA that doesn't experience this, then so I would like the tool to first give me, and I've done this. I've been doing this manually, but I like the tool to, within a few minutes or seconds to give me, hey, here are the list of the first thing is here are the list, the top of the funnel. Here are the list of communities that currently experience the fire or smoke, and then to do some analysis to say, based on information, to say, you should start to reach out to these communities, and in these communities, even better is to give me a list of emails or names to say, this is the HOA
Well,
president.
let's run that experiment. So, Thorsten, if we said to Sam, how can I best find um, a list of HOAs on the West Coast that are likely to have fire risk and identify their websites and identify their external decision makers or contact points?
Yeah.
Decision makers because the website data is actually in the profile.
Yes.
Okay, identify let me see,
And contact points. Now it's thinking hard about this problem.
county parcel databases and Cal fire hazard severity zone maps.
Can it do this work?
Got the prompt right there at the bottom. Want me to run a LinkedIn search for decision makers on the West Coast?
Yeah, you should say yes to that.
I mean, right. I got my hand up because I'm wondering, and it's related to some of the stuff John was saying a second ago, and specifically around HOAs and this, like, and we're focused on this fire aspect of it, but can Sam also help us create the different facets, or John calls them subsegments?
Yes.
Can it
Yes.
help with that so that Lincoln could identify, there's maybe a baby step before helping them out on fire, but when insurance policy changes, loads of these HOAs have to go and update their CC&Rs based on what's just changed regarding insurance. And so maybe that, and then could Sam identify and create like a marketing campaign? So let's go and find all the HOAs that have a CC&R that hasn't been updated in 10 years and needs to get touched because the insurance policies and in fact legal requirements in California have changed, and use that as an inroad to those folks. And I'm asking because also, maybe that's something, Thorsten, that you could show off.
So yes, I guess we can narrow this down. The tool or Sam can narrow this down. At the moment, he reverts always back to LinkedIn because we got 1 billion data sets on LinkedIn.
Yep.
And this is the starting point. When we look at this search here, right? The suggestion here is actually quite smart, right? So doing how do I cross-reference data from different data sources? He doesn't have access to any of the databases here. He does not. He can actually tell you what to do, but he can't do this himself.
Can you rig in something like that Claude bot or whatever it's called at the moment?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the Claude bot could probably do it, right? I'm building one right now.
With a little bit of scripting, right?
Yeah, I mean, the mold bot or whatever it's called right now, could be a solution for this, but even Claude, the way we use it, right? Because I mean, just from a technical point of view, we have a ton of cloud workers running, scrapers in the backend, right? And they just go anywhere you send them to. But going outside of LinkedIn contradicts actually the purpose of this tool at the moment.
Okay.
Because we started out with LinkedIn because it's a huge data source and it's the biggest pain point that we solve at the moment. and um, it's the most reliable data so far. When it comes to qualitative data, it's like a research assignment that we need to do. And to be honest, I feel it wouldn't be too difficult to add a bot here on the left side. Is that right? There's a research bot. And he's going to send out a research bot to actually look up the information and scrape a website, for instance. It's a question of cost, right? It is a different conversation, right? Building this research bot, yes, possible. We do have a research bot, but not like this. It could be done. The question is that actually necessary? It's necessary for convenience. I understand. But how many use cases do I have? Right now for Sam, where I need to send out, a research bot and get information from different sources.
So, if I am understanding this correctly, what Sam is doing is, you have a set of like prompts that tie back into doing customer discovery that allows you to first ask those questions, and then one of the evaluators, I'm not saying that's the only one, is it's integrating with LinkedIn to extract the contacts or to create a list of
Correct.
people to. Is
Correct.
that
Correct.
so? Then my question is, I want to kind of use my example, but switch a little bit to say, let's talk about insurance, right? There are a lot of people on LinkedIn who would claim to be insurance agents or underwriters or actuarials. And so now let's say if we told Sam, oh, hey, Sam, like get us, we want to talk to a list of people, say 20 actuarials and underwriters. How will Sam differentiate between the noise and the signal? Because there's a lot of people on LinkedIn who would put in stuff to say they do, because people are trying to get jobs, and I'm not saying there's noise, right? How will Sam filter out to pick? We could try that and see. Like if I said I want to know I want to be able to talk to 20 insurance underwriters or actuarials who cover fire insurance in the west coast of the United States. Will it pull up the names for me from LinkedIn?
Yes, it will pull out the names, but on top of the names, because there's a lot of noise. And what we actually built into the system is an ICP match score. Because there's a lot of people claiming they work for a tech startup and they don't. There's a lot of people working for this and they don't, right? So what we do is there are 3 data points we capture, and we capture the data points before you see the list. We go to the website, if there's a website, and scrape product information, all of this. We go to the LinkedIn page. We scrape the LinkedIn page for current position, and we go to the LinkedIn company page, and we match all of these. And these are the first good data points you get. At least you understand this person actually is a real insurance agent or real, whatever, right? So he works actually where he claims to work. Number 2 is what you're getting is the company. You're getting actually the product or service information they're providing. So because we have a lot of companies, they do like pretty much everything. And the lead quality is a big issue always. So for that reason, we have this scoring where we score actually a lead and compare it to your ICP if it actually matches your ICP. And it's just a numeric value, but it gives you at least, some confidence that you're actually talking to a real person in the industry.
So if we ran that, what would we get right now?
We have to run the entire search first, and then this runs in the back end. You get after a few minutes, you get actually a list back, and then you get like the values back. Again, this is, I like this exercise, right? I feel like we need a little bit more information. Let me actually, oh.
So then if we generalize it, right? So if somebody wants to do a customer discovery, it seems like there is a set of information they need to have to use SAM. And is that going to be different based on the idea or the space?
No. You just need to have an idea. You need to have your solution in mind. That's what you need to understand. What is the solution that you're trying to build? Who is your assumed target market? And Sam can help you to niche down your target market and find sub niches with a much more fine-tuned customer or buyer base.
So this is the place where we often get sidetracked with people because you're starting with solution in the conversation. And when we do that, people optimize for how do I get people to buy my solution? When what we're trying to do is to identify piles of people with problems so that we can identify the hot problem that's sort of related in there somewhere. And and just because Lingen has drones as his technology, that may not be a top 5 problem for the audiences that he's considering. And so how do we build the content strategy to get down to a submarket to ask them about the problem? And then how do we get the barrier in my mind, or my hypothesis is that the barrier is the creation of the experiment. I believe that homeowner associations have a risk associated with fires that they will pay to reduce that risk. That's a foundational hypothesis for an experiment. Now let's go run that experiment. And to do that, I need to find homeowner decision maker or homeowner association decision makers. I need to qualify them into being early adopters in some way. I need to qualify them as being customers willing to pay for the problem, right? And then I might want to articulate the problem from a bunch of different angles, right? One of the angles is risk to the homeowners' houses. One of them is insurance premium risk. One of them is the health risk to the residents, right? And so we should be able to then have a dialogue with Sam, generate that series of experiment topics, and then generate the time-boxed experiments. Here's the assumptions. Here's the list of 100 people that we're going to contact. Bang, 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 bang. We contacted them with this thing using LinkedIn. And now that LinkedIn has had a conversion rate of 5%. So now out of the 100 people, I've got 5 people that have talked to me. And of those people that have talked to me, only one of them has gone to the workshop or downloaded the action, which is the measurement of the thing they paid for to prove that they are interested and then became customers because they paid for a thing, right? That design, where is that integrated into this tool?
That design will be integrated tomorrow night.
All right.
We will. I mean, this is good feedback actually, right? So again, I mean, the switch now from really B2B sales. I mean, this tool is pretty good for that, but taking a step back to the roots. All right, let's do custom discovery, right? It's not the same. It's about the questions, right? So I will prompt tomorrow. I mean, my Sammy boy here.
Well,
And
let's ask Sam now. If we're looking for homeowner associations, what are the various benefits that they might be seeking from some kind of fire suppression
okay,
drone solution?
wait.
And this is the problem with the tool, is that I have to know that I have to ask certain kinds of questions.
Yeah.
And so then how can I get the tool to ask me the question to ask, right? So that it becomes a dialogue that drives me to do the creation of the experiment instead of the other direction, right?
And you have a good point, John. I mean, and I've seen that. I don't want to fall into the same trap, which is I don't want to even start with the drone because it is maybe just to simplify. a lot of buckets and a water source might be fine. I'm just making this up. And somebody might say, hey, I'm happy with that. And so I'd rather like find out is, yeah, fire is something that's there and I want to deal with that. So if I go to these people and say, there is fire, how does that impact you? And what would you want? What are you not happy with what you have today? Then maybe I have the right thinking. But if I start having this conversation of, oh, I have this drone, and it's kind of like the AI thing, right? Everybody says, I'm going to use AI for what? And so that is one thing I wanted to avoid. And another thing I'll share, just because we're talking about this, something that has worked for me, and like maybe manually it's been working for me, and automation along those lines might be helpful, is I watch a lot of YouTube videos. I go look at interviews, and to me, I don't think LLMs have caught up there, but I just listen to people, like they interview people from the LA fires or where, and tons of people just come and talk about what happened. And that's the closest I get to today in the digital world than actually talking to somebody and being able to ask. So if the tool can also incorporate other data sources, then it becomes a lot more valuable than just LinkedIn.
We do have actually stuff in the pipeline, right? So we do have stuff in the pipeline for this. So
Yeah, because I think that's a hugely, because now I have to search. And again, there's a lot of noise because so many posting on YouTube. So you have to search and then, figure out which are the ones that you really, and there are some tremendously useful ones and then not so useful ones. So, but if the tool can filter out for any topic, right, then it would be awesome.
True. Yeah, true. So, John, I need a recording of this ASAP.
Yeah, we have the recording, so we'll do with that.
I
So
just need the audio script. Yeah.
where are we at inside the here are the submarkets that I'm going to approach and what their risks are? What does that say?
These are the key questions. I asked a question if we were to target HOAs, what are the questions we need to ask about the drone solution? So, how are you currently managing fire risk assessments across your community? Are you doing annual inspections and who conducts them? Have you had any fire incidents or near misses that triggered a review of your current approach, right? Is your HOA in a designated high or very high fire hazard severity zone? And does this affect your insurance premiums or coverage eligibility? So, good questions. The questions, are these the right questions to ask?
Yeah.
Yeah, they are.
Are you wanting to probe this a little bit deeper?
I'm looking through the questions. I think on the problem side, happy kind of that. I think that's what I would. On the solution side, again, it's a little bit leading. I would first ask is what solutions are you aware of? If any problem, generic thing, right? I think the first question should be not specific to a solution type. It should be like, what solutions are you aware of today? And then have it.
Well, the real question is not necessarily what exists, but what do the homeowner associations know about and which have they used?
Right. Well, yes, that too, right? Definitely not to put something that we have in mind, because that's going to start to make them think that way.
Mm-hmm. Right. If you start talking about existing solutions, you converge the conversation on the existing solutions, and then you don't find the place where the problem is because they've already, gotten stuck in a particular hole already.
Right. The only time I want it to propose something is if anybody says, I want a solution for firefighting, it should say Lingen has already solved it. But then other than that, I'm okay with it shouldn't be asking that.
Yes.
Yeah. So
this is more neutral right now. So what would make it easier for your board to act on safety recommendations?
yeah.
And who typically drives vendor decisions for community operations, right? Is that you or the board?
So if we were to ask Lingen to do an experiment where he interviews 10 people in the next week, could he get the information and arrange the calls in the next week?
See, it hasn't given me that, right, Thorsten? I mean,
We
it's
haven't
still,
asked that question yet.
yeah.
You
Oh,
haven't.
okay.
I have to do an experiment to get 10 people, right?
Yeah.
10 people on the phone. What do we need to do? What do we need to do? So you need a tight list of 50 to 100 HOA decision makers in California. A short, punchy connection message that opens a conversation without pitching. A 2 to 3 step follow-up sequence that leads with curiosity, hook around fire season, and gets them to a 15-minute call. The goal is one thing only, to get a reply that turns into a book call, not a sale. I know, I've done this many times. I mean, the question is that actually the right platform? Is LinkedIn the right platform for your target audience? So we worked for HOAs. We have a client actually in that space, Votegrity, right? So,
Yes.
and I tell you, I mean, from experience, LinkedIn,
Wait. How many HOA do you have in your database?
I don't know, they had like 80 or 90,000
Yes. And of
across the
those
country.
80 or 90,000, how could you process those to identify, 1,000 of them that are in the high risk areas?
Yeah, you could actually do this location, right? You could actually pick the ones in California.
Well,
Um,
but there are fire zone maps
right.
already.
I
We
mean, you
just
can
have
probably
to
get the
do the
zip code.
GPS thing, right? And pull
No,
that.
you do the zip code. You just get a fire zone map and actually pull out the zip codes. And
Yeah.
then you select by zip codes. That's what you could do.
Okay.
That's the
And,
easiest one, I guess.
and I mean, he's sitting here needing to run these experiments to get his data by next week. What does it take to get the Votegrity? I was thinking Votegrity in my head a lot. So,
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. The data is actually on LinkedIn. You have all the HOAs on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So we have a good data set there. Um, so you can cross-populate, cross-reference actually against zip codes.
So we
Um,
really like target markets where there's a directory of the people that make decisions in the target market. So that's really easy marketing as opposed to, random people that are hiding under bushes. So
Correct.
that's good. So now that you've got the 1,000 that you've curated out of the 80,000, how is Sam going to help Lingen get to 10 booked things in the next week?
Well, he doesn't get you to the book calls, right? He gives you the database, he gives you the messaging, he can test the messaging and look at the response likelihood and look at the results and then say, all right, this is going good, this is a much better template, and we should try this or that. That's what he needs to do. His suggestion was contact 50 to 100 HOA decision makers in California. That's a good start. And now we need to get the right data, cross-reference against these fire zones. Take the zip codes from HOAs, cross-reference these against the fire zones, get the decision makers, and actually run an email campaign. I mean, our own experience was LinkedIn did never work for HOAs, but email did.
But I think this is where, and I don't have that list in front of me, but I did something like this using Claude, right? Directly. Just ask Claude, hey, I need to find communities. And I just said something like communities with greater than 300 homes in the community. Give me some, and it may not have been complete, but it gave me some. I had like 75 something I found enough
Perfect.
to, so the question then becomes is like, we don't have to do it right now, but if somebody were to take all the questions, like the prompts we were giving Sam and go to Claude, I'm a little confused as to what Sam would give more than what I would directly get out of uh, Claude.
You get answers out of Claude, right? Yeah, Claude is not building your campaigns. It's not optimizing your campaigns. It's not going on LinkedIn and building you, I mean, a authority. It's not Claude.
But so
Because Claude is just a tool, right? It's not enabled. You need to connect the tool. That's the difference. Because this is here, this is Claude. This is actually the foundation of this is Claude. It is
right.
So
just
how does he then get from this answers to action?
it's once we actually say, oh, this is the audience, I mean, on the tool, right? And he selects the data. This is easy. The data sits in
Right.
here.
So yeah,
Sits in here, and I guess I demoed this to you before. You
yeah.
just pick your audience, and all right, this is the one that I want to target. And let's load the data. Come on. Let's do this. Refresh. Yes. And basically what you do here is you pick your data sets, it's loading. And then you click, this is the campaign, and then you run the campaign. It's usually,
And the campaign is a LinkedIn campaign where
it
you
can
are
be an email campaign, it can be a WhatsApp campaign, it can be
okay.
a LinkedIn campaign, um, and it can be in the future Facebook or Instagram, but this is not the target audience here.
Oh, so
So
interesting. Let me maybe then. So again, I'm putting my hat on as thinking about my specific use case, but I'm also thinking about other people who will watch this video later on. So if I'm a founder and I'm doing, let's say I'm doing a recruiting solution, and I want to interview people who are technical hiring managers, and I said, oh, I want to be able to get technical hiring managers who work for companies that make drones. And if I go in and put it here, then is Sam going to give me a list of people? And
yes.
then is it going to also, I guess, the effectiveness of the campaign is also going to be um, that message converting into somebody engaging with me for that discussion, right? So what is Sam going to do to make sure that my campaign is not going to go into some dumpster or people are ignoring? Like how does Sam make sure that I'm getting a better conversion rate of having people come to me? Or is that something I have to do on top?
No, we do A/B testing and we look at data points, right? So we are not having, we can't predict actually if your campaign works. What we can do is we can run the experiments, look at the ABC results, and then say, all right, this one works because of this and that. Then we take the most successful one and say, all right, this one works. Now let's test this against the new B and C version and optimize this. This is what we do.
So where is the campaign going to run?
This one, I mean, you see, this is a LinkedIn company. These guys are here on LinkedIn and they
Yeah.
have email available. So if you took just that one here, all right, create campaign. And basically you click here and now it sets up your campaign and then it runs it, right?
Directly. Bang, done. I need these
Bang,
kinds of
create.
people.
See,
pull the
this
people, sort the
all the people,
people,
here's
run
your
the
list.
program.
Correct. I mean, then you create your messaging and done.
And
And
so for me, the place where I would get stalled is I get all of those people. How do I manage the experiment part of it rather than the campaign part of it? Right? I'm going to gather the 100 people. My goal is to measure of those 100 people, how many people come in and buy. And then I want to label that box and say, here's the experiment I run. Here's the time box I ran. And the answer is yes, it worked, and no, it didn't. And I'm going to end up running, in order to eat through the 1,000 interviews I need to do, I'm going to do 10 of these things. And I want to look at the success or failure rate of each of the experiments and try to extract the nuance, right? So that I
see,
get
here
better
it
at
is.
experiments, right?
These are your metrics here. Here are your metrics. The meetings booked, the interested folks who said they're interested, the people who replied, right? So the number of people you contacted and the total database size. And
Okay.
you can drill this down by timeline. You can drill this down by campaign, right? Um, so the analytics is pretty solid here. What you can do is, I mean, just open this one here. You basically can see the messaging, how it responded, what they said. You can actually, in the aftermath, you can actually still go down in the analytics and look at the data points, right? So if you said, all right, I contacted 32 people, who are these? And now you get a list of people, I mean, who actually received a message from you. So I want to see the people who connected with me or who replied to me. So you can select all of these in here. And based on the data here, you can actually set up new experiments. You can say, all right, look at the data here, people who replied to me. I need this demographic, exactly that. And I want to build a second list just based on this data set here, for instance. Right? So um,
So
and
sadly, while this all looks pretty and interesting, this I don't think lowers the cognitive load for the entrepreneur low enough for them to actually stay focused enough to get to an answer. And I wonder about that. And we can run an experiment here and use Lingen as our little test gerbil to see, here's a tool. He's going to give you access to it for 4 weeks. You go and run the experiment and see if you can actually turn it into interviews that get to a yes or no.
Happy to run that experiment.
Yeah. So I'm very curious about the cognitive load in terms of setting up the experiments. In my mind, I can manage that in my head, but a lot of times people just lose track of it for whatever reason.
yeah,
So, are there other things you want to talk about, Thorsten?
no, I guess I'm good.
Yeah, okay. Can you lower the screen for us, please? Cool. Are there other questions that anyone wants to ask? Jonah, you want to tell us something we forgot? Anna, did we teach you anything interesting in here?
Nothing for me. This has been super awesome to look at. So
Yeah, super awesome is great, but it's better when you have a harder question.
that is true. I'm very unskilled when it comes to AI, so I feel like I probably should spend more time figuring out the basics before I come up with a great question. So
But it's the silly, stupid questions that cause us to discover new things. Yes,
I
David.
mean, I guess I would have a generic question about prompting, just because I feel like that's a skill that I'm very terrible at. It always takes me like a half hour to ask like chat what I'm actually trying to do. But
What's the question
What's
about
the
prompting?
question?
how do you prompt well? I'm not sure.
Well, one of the things you can do is that you can ask it to improve your prompts. And so you can write a prompt. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? I want to find blah, blah, blah. I'm hoping that you have this role. I want to find blah, blah, blah. How do you suggest I do it better? And
Correct.
that
That's the
that
easy one.
that
That's a good
iteration,
one.
like 2 or 3 minutes, you're now down to a much more tight thing. And then, there's a certain format that you want to get the data out. Like I'm always thinking in spreadsheets. So then how do I get this data into a spreadsheet that holds these pieces of information? And then I get a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
One thing.
Although,
Oh,
go
go
ahead,
ahead.
David.
So the dude who works for me, Matt, spends a lot of time using AI tools on our sales and marketing bits. And neither Matt nor myself are anyway professional sales and marketing folks. And we wanted to do sales and marketing experiments. And what is it called? When you have the experiment and there's the null hypothesis of the experiment or something like this.
Yep.
And it was a little bit of work to get the AI thing to really, get that part dialed in. I think there's a bit of a problem that, not just Claude, not just Gemini, every single one of them, tries to be helpful. They try like heck to answer the question, and that's where you end up having those tools like doing their hallucinations. And so Matt had to work fairly diligently to get the tool to help it construct like the null hypothesis part. And that was a bunch of stuff where it came through on the prompting. Like, I think, I was using this thing for, I think, SAC 27, and I was using these tools and asking it to evaluate people's pitch decks, things like this. And you know what came back with every single company? Oh, is this company a good investment? Every single one of them, it said yes, under the right, and then with a little carve out, under the right conditions. Well, my lawyer answers every question with, oh, well, it depends, so that's not really helpful. And it, in order to instruct the machine to say no, it took like 3 sentences of prompting to let it know it's okay to say no, and be blunt about it and say no. And if you can't find the answer, say that you can't find the answer. And I think that there has to be something like that along with like the sales bits. We are using them a lot to try to carve out market segments and then also construct the experiment. Give me the schedule, give me the this, give me the this, give me the this. We have it output everything in JSON or YAML formats because it's easy for us to take programming languages that we use and fold that stuff into something that's more useful for us. And then one of the other things Thorsten was talking about, like the difference between, I guess, with this, I don't have a whole lot of experience with SAM, but just using a Gemini or a GPT or something on their own, if you go back the next day, they've forgotten what's going on. And so that's a bit of work for Matt. And it feels like that's what Sam already has, sort of.
No, we have actually persistent memory built in.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Like, and that stuff's very useful. Matt's doing the stuff from a lower level on purpose, but it's been a bit problematic to say, you don't just tell it like you can tell a human, hey, remember that thing we were talking about yesterday? And many times the human will remember. The robot will not remember that.
Yeah.
They try to. They do make efforts to do that, but they're not. It's not nearly as good as if you.
I found a tool. I'll send you a link to a tool on GitHub, right? That actually gives you memory in all your LLMs. It keeps it. It makes it persistent.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to put it in the chat here or just like?
No, I have to dig it out, but I'll send it to you.
Okay, I am interested.
It's free. It's free, and you plug it into your IDE.
I mean, if for a lot, you can kind of build those things, but for simpler things, most of these also have things like Gemini has something called gems, and ChatGPT has something called projects, which you can give context and keep updating it to refine it. But of course, they are limited in the scale and automation, not scalable. But if you want to, you can actually do for smaller things too.
You can definitely. And I mean, to be honest, when we have clients and we talk about like Google, right? Google has a lot of tools for free available. It's always, what is it, what you're trying to achieve? But if you just want to automate your inbox, just use Google, right? Because they have a few very interesting automation tools that are free. Just use them. What we do is different, and it's a totally different use case. And we work for teams, right? And sales teams, which is different. They have different requirements, like integration into their CRM systems, right? Data enrichment and all of this. But I mean, if you want to use a tool, right? I mean, use Google and use I mean, all their tools that are free. I mean, they have awesome tools. But many people, I mean, many of the founders that we work for, they're non-tech founders. And that's the issue. They are non-tech founders. I mean, they're busy with their product, right? They understand, oh, we need to have a product, but they have no idea how to actually, they don't have the time to learn this. I don't want to say that they don't have an idea, but they don't have the time to learn about the new technology and how to leverage all of this.
2 or 3 open coffees ago, John was talking to somebody who had showed up and made a reference to this older movie, 9 to 5. And in the beginning of this movie, there's a scene where there's an office just full of secretaries doing work on a typewriter. And and if you don't know what they're doing, it looks like, oh, they're just sitting there typing up something or other. Except that back in those days, that secretary had expertise in something as well. And the AI, you need to have an AI that, and you, the founder, or the other people who need to use these tools, you sort of need the secretary so that you can say the high level instruction to the secretary who already understands a bunch of the other internal business requirements, and you don't have to explain to them that well, for our company, user privacy is very important, and these other, all kinds of other things about it. Like for my business, we work with regulated cannabis, and the LLMs and the larger models, they don't know a whole lot about that stuff, and then these regulations change, and the data is not something that those companies are super interested in crawling. So we have to like collect it and feed it into the bot every time we want to have it do work for us. We have to like retrain the secretary with the fact that it's a felony in Idaho, and it's medical in Montana, and it's fully recreational in Washington with these limitations, and it's recreational in Oregon with these limitations. But Washington and Oregon both have a medical carve out as well, because we want to be able to answer those kinds of questions in detail. And be nice if we actually just had a secretary on the team who could remember all of that stuff, but we don't. And I wrote back in the chat there, the LLMs don't care about the structure of your data. And so we've had some pretty good success with, we know where the data is. We fold it, we turn a web page or a PDF into just plain text, and then make a very large, big plain text file and attach that to our API queries and things like that into the LLMs. I guess that's the research, or that's its knowledge, where it's trying to remember stuff, except it doesn't remember. But Thorsten, I am interested to know whatever that tool is you had from.
I'll send it to you, right? I'll
Yeah,
send it to you.
please.
It plugs into Gemini and into Claude.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So I want to ask Chona, who now that you have Sam, are you finding that your expertise is being deployed faster and better in some way? And if so, where and how?
Basically, for me, it really helps when, especially before, in 6 years of doing in the manual task, and also when getting the correct ICP, our Sam really helps me to fine tune especially when it comes to finding the right target audience, and then the right messaging text for that specific target audience. So it really helps us, especially for me or for some of my VAs before. So the SAM really helps in finding tune. Yeah.
Mhm.
And here, in this case, like we are learning from everything that you guys share. So I guess the more feedback that we get, I think the faster our SAM evolves into a high performing agent in the business. So yeah.
That's a good point, yeah. Because I feel like today's session was pretty good, right? So
Yes.
I've done this myself with startup founders know-how, but I guess you have to prompt the agent, right? And as much as we prompted it to become a B2B sales expert, being a startup mentor, right, is something entirely different. It's a different motion, right? And we have to train it on this, right? So and it's going to be interesting. Lingen, I just added you on LinkedIn, so I'll reach out to you,
Right.
right? And by tomorrow night, I guess you will have access to this in version number in the John Seacrest version, right? And
Awesome, man. I look forward to finishing my customer discovery next Monday.
yeah, wonderful. It won't take that long anymore.
Right. So we do the open coffee every Tuesday morning. And so I would urge you to come to the open coffee and report to David or me about the progress on this and see how it might work. I think that the rhythm of the early person, like where you're at right now with no website for your thing and you're just in customer discovery, that you should be rapidly trying to find people who have a common problem, not the problem you have in mind, but 100 people have the same problem, willing to spend money to talk about it, whatever that is, and try to drive that forward. So, if you the homeowners association is interesting because we know this company Votegrity that is doing voting for homeowner associations. So that data set is much better known than some other data sets. I know of a web designer who made a lot of money doing web designs for water treatment plants. And the reason that he was successful was because their needs were very common between them. And he had a directory that had the name and phone number and address, physical address of every water treatment plant in the United States. So his
Right.
marketing effort was like very focused and very easy. And that's the part that I think this AI can do for us is to make it much easier to focus in on subsegments and to run the experiments to find the audience that has a particular problem.
Absolutely. It's narrowing down and then getting the right people, getting the right messaging, which like I have done some of these things manually, and it takes a lot of time that I
Right.
really should be spending. I could be spending on other things. So a tool would be very helpful.
Right. So I look forward to seeing what the results of that are at Open Coffee. And I appreciate you coming and talking about this, Thorsten. Really want to sort of press this one step deeper in terms of lowering the mental friction for founders to do an experiment. And I'm fundamentally believing that the AIs don't know what an experiment is either, and you're going to have to teach them what an
You have to
experiment
teach them.
is,
You have to
right?
teach
And
them. Yeah.
and the more that you do the hand waving to collect data from startup blah 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 on the internet to create context, none of that will create an understanding of how to do experiments. So it's going to be specific tooling to make that happen, not just simple prompts. Anyway, thank
So
you
I'll
for
try to be on one of the next open coffees and demo the next iteration of this.
right. That would be great.
Yeah.
And thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Dave, for being here and supporting.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey,
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks
John,
so much.
are
Bye.
you turning
Yeah.
this off now?
Thank you.